What's up guys, David here, and I'm back with another controversial video about standardized testing. Now, one of the biggest complaints about the SAT test itself is that it is not cheap to take. Like, unless you qualify for like a fee waiver or something, a typical SAT test would cost you about $52, and if you want to include an essay, which most colleges require, you'll have to pay $16 extra, totaling the cost to $68, which is kind of suspicious considering College Board is a non-profit organization. Which brings us to this question: should the SAT be free to take for everyone? Now, if you're clicking on this video for the sole purpose of my answer, well, my answer is no. I do not think the SAT should be free for everyone to take, and there are loads of reasons why. I mean, first off, financially, it just wouldn't make much sense. But more importantly, it will probably increase the number of idiots who will try and abuse the system. However, this does not mean that I am satisfied with the price it is at right now. So I think at this point, we all know that College Board is a non-profit organization. I mean, I kinda did already mention it. Now, I can make jokes about it all day, like how the CEO of College Board apparently makes $1 million every single year, and how they only register themselves as a non-profit organization to dodge tax. Now, whether or not I think College Board should be registered as a non-profit organization is for another video. But I mean, even if hypothetically College Board is not trying to actually make a profit, they'll still have to charge some sort of fees for their services. Otherwise, how the heck are they gonna support themselves? I mean, even your favorite animal shelters charge an adoption fee to cover the cost to maintain the animal, even though they're not actually trying to make a profit. So it is perfectly fair for a College Board to charge money for their tests, even if they have a rather absurd price. Now, before I talk about how much I think College Board should charge per SAT test, I think I should give a few more reasons why it should not be free. One reason why I do not think the SAT should be free to take for everyone is because it just doesn't make sense financially. Now, I know this point may sound kind of repetitive to something I've mentioned earlier, but I kind of want to talk about what College Board has on their hands. So first off, they need to pay their proctors, and according to the internet, the average salary of a proctor is $16 an hour. Wait, hold on. An SAT proctor can make $16 an hour just sitting around and on their phone for a few hours? I think I may have just found my calling in life. Anyways, the College Board also has to write questions and figure out the curves. Again, I cannot verify whether or not the people who actually write for College Board are paid or volunteers, since College Board is apparently very secure with this information. But I mean, even if they were to be volunteers, College Board will still have to compensate them in some way. They also have to manage the data of a bunch of students. Because I mean, last time I checked, there's a couple million people taking the SAT worldwide every month. Lastly, they probably have cybersecurity people to make sure that none of their tests are leaked. Actually, they probably don't have cybersecurity people. Otherwise, why are so many of their tests leaked? And why are there so many scandals still? Regardless, all of the things that College Board has to take care of requires money. Again, I do not think charging $52 per test is fair, but if all tests are free, how are they supposed to stay in business? I'm also aware that they may receive some sort of funding from the government because, again, they're a non-profit organization. But again, is government funding enough to cover the cost of a couple million people taking the test every month? Another reason why I do not think the SAT should be free for everyone is because if it is hypothetically free for everyone to take, why would anyone take it seriously? I mean, wouldn't people just start taking the SAT test like hypothetically it was to be a practice test? And to that, some of you guys may be asking, well, how about just limit the number of times you can actually take the test? That way, even the richest people can't abuse the SAT system. Well, to be honest, that could work. But I mean, College Board has had its fair shares of controversial moments. So I honestly don't think they would even have the dignity to consider that. Also, imagine how many people are gonna be cheating now. Like, this old look at your neighbor trick may actually end up working for some students. I mean, College Board is pretty good at taking precautions on preventing people from cheating. But now, even their best level of security will be obliterated by the cheaters if they have unlimited opportunities to execute their plans. So I think by now, you agree with me that the SAT test should not be free to take. So now I'll talk about how I think the prices should be modified. First off, I am aware that it actually costs $12 for an SAT test to be sent to a school. Now, as absurd as it may sound, I actually do believe that $12 is a fair price because, I mean, sometimes they'll have to be sending your scores halfway across the country. But then some of you guys may be asking, David, why does it only cost $5 for you to send your college transcripts to another institution if you want to transfer? Okay, you know what? You win. The College Board is trying to take our money, alright? If that's the point you're trying to make to me, I guess I agree with you now. I mean, this is why you should send your scores as soon as you get them so that you can send them to 4 institutions for free. Because if you're not aware of it already, College Board actually gives you a certain amount of time after you receive your score to send them to 4 institutions for free. So if you are that kind of person who is gonna get mad over $5, please just use your resources to your advantage. Anyways, now let's analyze the price of the test itself. An average salary of a proctor is about $16 an hour. I honestly think that's a bit too high because again, they don't really do much, but let's just assume that. Now, an SAT test is usually about 180 minutes long, which is 3 hours, and I guess add another 50 minutes for the students who are actually taking the essay. Now, I'm gonna assume that the proctor has to stay another 2 hours to process all of the tests. So for around 6 hours, a proctor should be paid about $96. Again, this is probably on the extreme side because I don't think a proctor actually makes that much. Now, how many students does an SAT proctor actually proctor? I think a very conservative number is 10 students. Let's just go with 10. So the revenue College Board will actually generate from one proctor is $690. So if you subtract the proctor salary from the equation, you can kind of see where the issue is. I mean, just from one room, they're making hundreds of dollars. And usually there will be about 50 rooms full of students taking a test at every testing center. Now imagine how many testing centers there will be across the world every month. Now obviously there will be other costs in regards of administering an SAT test, but I still think it's safe to say that the College Board is profiting at least $1 million every time they administer an SAT test. I know, right? So much for a non-profit organization. Something else that I find abundantly retarded is how College Board has an upsell. Basically, if you want a detailed report of your mistakes on the SAT test, you have to pay $18 extra. Like seriously, why? I mean, as a non-profit organization, you shouldn't be charging money for something that requires no money for you to produce. I mean, after all, I don't think it should cost any extra money to give a score report to everyone, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that the College Board already has a score report for everyone before their test scores are even out. It's just that they won't give it to you until you paid the extra $18. Now this is just absurd. This is just like me charging you for my notes that will take me 2 seconds to take a picture of and send. Now I personally don't have an issue with that at all. I mean, we're all trying to make some extra cash, but I mean, it's obvious you're trying to make money and you're trying to rob us out of our cash. You're not a non-profit organization. Anyways, how much do I think the SAT test should cost to take? Well, I think they should at least half the price. So probably about $26. And I think the detailed report should be free for everyone. Now, as for the essay, I actually think it's very fair to charge $16 extra for it, maybe even $20, because the essay section has to be graded by an actual human being, so it is probably the most costly portion to actually grade. That is, if the people who actually grade these tests are actually paid to do it, not just volunteers. As for the cost to submit a score, I think $12 is a little bit extra, but it is not too absurd. I know it can be frustrating, especially if you're applying to like 8 schools, because the $12 can easily add up. But I mean, there's a reason why College Board will send you a couple of your scores for free. Use it. Anyways, that's all I have today. My question to you is, do you think College Board should reduce the price to take one of their standardized tests? Or do you still think it should be free? This is just my take, so I am down for any counter arguments in the comments below. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys next time.